Good reaction now from the South African Communist Party, and I'm joined by the spokesperson, Dr. Alex Mashilo. Dr. Alex, good evening. Good to have you, and thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, Tabo, and good evening to the viewers. Thank you so much.
Did Fitch ditch its credibility here by descending into a political arena in their latest statement?
No, it is not the first time they are involved in the political arena, and South Africa is not the only country in which the big three United States ratings agency entered the political arena. They were recently criticized last month, to be specific, in China, for underestimating Chinese growth potential and overestimating Chinese sovereign debt risk.
So are you saying that in all instances, or at least those that you have just cited, the perception of risk versus the actual risk did not correlate, I beg your pardon?
Not necessarily in all the instances. You will recall that in 2008, prior to the global economic crisis, the rating agencies in the United States gave high ratings to mortgage-backed securities. And you saw during that period, ballooning debt in the United States, driven by what was called the subprime lending rates. Those contributed to the crisis that broke out in the United States financial system, resulting in the global economic crisis as we saw it. And the ratings agencies were criticized. In fact, there is history of the ratings agencies being bribed to give good ratings to certain companies or certain securities. And this led to more and more regulation of their conduct. Although things have improved globally in the manner in which the ratings agencies carry themselves, as they were criticized last month in China, the reality, as you see with the current South African case, is that they start their credit rating evaluation from an ideological basis. And in the end, as they were criticized in China, and this is also visible in what they are doing in South Africa, they promote United States foreign interests. For example, during the campaign, the Democratic Alliance in South Africa referred to what they call doomsday coalition. Now, when you look at the comments by these US rating agencies, are exactly a reflection of what the DA said. This cannot sit well with the people of South Africa, because it is to take side in a democratic context. In other words, participating in manipulating our public opinion and undermining our democracy, if you look at what they have said. And it was good for the African peer review mechanism to step forward, because things like this can cause serious problems and do cause serious problems, because what the ratings agencies say is taken seriously by the people who control huge flows of capital. Those may be inflows or outflows of capital. And in the end, depending on which direction the flows of capital move, that impact the currency. Yeah. This is why you see it sometimes after their comments, certain currencies devaluing or losing a certain percentage of their foreign exchange rate, mainly, but not only, compared to the US dollar.
But one can then say that you, as the SACP, conduct political analysis all the time, and your conferences, you give political reports, in your meetings, you give political reports. So there's a consistent analysis of the political environment, and in those, including of late with your last meeting, and we've been speaking to the SACP back and forth, you reflected your opinion on the coalition talks. Why would credit analysis not incorporate that?
Thank you for your question. Credit analysis combines two sets of data. The first is quantitative in no particular order, and the second is qualitative. But there is a difference between when we as South Africans express our freedoms provided for in our constitution as registered voters, and when a foreign controlled organization make comments that have the effect of manipulating how investors who drive the so-called investor confidence view our economy. That is highly a problem. If you look at what they are doing, they are almost making a choice for the ANC which way to go. Then where is our sovereign democratic right as the people of South Africa? We don't need that. We don't need that. I'm sure you are aware we have never manipulated the US electoral system and public opinion. And there is no way the United States can allow any institution from South Africa or any part of the world to do so. That's why they made allegations against Russia in the previous elections. They alleged that Russia manipulated their elections via internet systems, including social media. Why would their establishments do the same in our situation? And we accept it. It is unacceptable, and we commend the African peer review mechanism for coming forward.
So do you then, as SACP, think it's an overestimation of the risk that faces South Africa, depending on how the government of national unity is formed, whether with the DA, the IFP, and whatever other party, or with the MK party, the EFF, and other parties on that spectrum?
You see, in this instance, unlike in the Chinese situation, it is not necessarily an overestimation of the risks we face. It is a complete distortion of the reality unfolding on the ground. Their statement says if the ANC goes into coalition with the EFF and the MKP, the ANC has not said that it is seeking a coalition with the MKP and the EFF. The ANC has said that it is advancing the notion of a government of national unity. So you can see they are not talking to what the ANC is saying. They are talking to what the DA has said during the election campaign, and they are using it to manipulate investor confidence, so-called in our economy. And I must say that if they took quantitative factors into account, particularly if you read the news stories covering them on this issue, they would have taken into account, for example, what the ANC has said and what the ANC's alliance partners have said. We said that the outcomes of the elections as it stands right now places the ANC as a leading political party by electoral support. And there are permutations from the results that allow the ANC to proceed to set up a minority government, and that those permutations include a minority government with the features of a government of national unity, and it doesn't have to have those particular features, depending on the strategy that the ANC and its allies will consider. And Fitch ignores everything that the ANC and its allies are saying, and it says that if the ANC goes into a coalition with the EFF and the MK party, this is what is going to be happening. You can see that the qualitative data that they have considered is a hypothesis which falls far away from what the ANC and its alliance partners are saying. and it cannot be correct. If they were interested in a correct assessment of qualitative data, they would have said, this is what the ANC and its alliance partners are saying, and these are the risks of what they are saying. And even if they were to do so, it would be wrong for them to decide the choices for us, because they say the ANC must go into coalition with the DA. The ANC is not looking forward to a coalition, as its president has said.
Yeah.
They have talked about a government of national unity, and as allies we have said, no, there is permutation.
Yeah.
If you look at the South African results as they stand right now, there is no way you can have a government without the African National Congress. Either there is just no way. There is no way you can have, for example, the EFF, the NKP, and the Democratic Alliance forming a government. And there is just no way there can be a combination of other parties forming a government. So the ANC is at the center of the formation of the government. And it does not need to be dictated to by foreign-controlled agencies, especially in putting forward statements that point to risks on possibilities that the ANC has not advanced.
So let's talk about those permeations. I mean, you've been back and forth now, I'm sure, with your alliance partners. But in the coalition negotiations, are there possibilities of radical policy reforms? Two, are there possibilities of deviation from fiscal consolidation as part of the considerations?
Look, let me tell you, Tabiso. Firstly, let's deal with macroeconomic policy factors. And thank you for highlighting the question of fiscal consolidation, because they have referred to it. There is just no way that South Africa will industrialize or build large-scale industry, particularly comprising a diversity of manufacturing sectors, without a comprehensive and high-impact industrial policy that is well-funded. If you say fiscal consolidation must cut resources that must go into employment creation, you are plunging South Africa into a long-term trajectory of the persisting high level of unemployment. We disagree with Fitch. There is no way you can have a state that does not have confidence in investing its own resources in its own economy, but that state expecting other people to invest in that economy. The South African state has to lead in investing in the South African economy. And one way of leading in investing in the South African economy is to consolidate a high-impact, comprehensive industrial policy to diversify, expand, and grow our economy, to create large-scale employment creation. These problems, such as electricity supply under capacity, logistics under capacity in the rails and the ports, will not be resolved without an investment. Okay? And if you tell us that fiscal consolidation is to limit or curtail or avoid investment as a state in diversifying, growing, and expanding your own economy, you are saying the crisis that we have must continue. There is no way we are going to accept that notion.
Dr. Alex, appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming on and your intervention tonight. That is South African Communist Party spokesperson there, Dr. Alex Mashilo.